After review, it has been determined that the receiver did not maintain possession.
Quarterback's arm was going forward, and it's an
Oh, man, on a call that is.
That's the worst call in the history of all sports.
Deciding who wins the game on this call.
Further ado, the call on the field stands. Touchdown.
After review, it has been determined that the receiver did not maintain possession.
quarterback's arm was going forward, and it's an
Oh, man, on a call that is.
That's the worst call in the history of all sports.
Deciding who wins the game on this call.
Further ado, the call on the field stands. Touchdown.
Wow, that was a bad call.
Welcome to another bad call where the refs aren't the only ones who get it wrong. We are back live on a Friday night, ready for some live lineup building discussion. Justin here with my man JD over there.
What's up, dude?
How's it going? How you doing?
I'm tired, but other than that, we're doing okay. Made the switch to a midnight shift yesterday. Well, this morning. However it breaks down, I don't know. So when I went to bed today at like noon, I had like 2 hours of sleep and like 28 hours. So I was feeling pretty good. My body's not happy with me, but I'm ready to talk some football and get going.
Sweet. Well, we're getting into the meat of the season here. COVID has had some effect thus far, I'd say. But you know, that money machine that is the NFL is not going to be deterred nor knocked down, and so we still have plenty of action to keep our habit
I think the word you're looking for is addiction.
Hobby. Let's go with hobby.
Hobby?
Go with hobby. Yeah, let's go with hobby.
That's a nice little sugar coat.
That's what we'll stick with. So well, I know that your season long pretty much has gone completely in the toilet. So, you know what? I'll just, I will, I'm not even going to ask you about it. At this point, it's not even worth it for you.
Well, so I do have one league where I'm in third place. So okay. I'm still hanging in there. I haven't lost all of my players in that one. But I mean, I've got Russ, I've got Tyreek Hill, Kenny Galladay, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Evan Ingram, Chris Carson, Justin Herbert, Jared Goff. That's a 2 tight end league, or a 2 QB league. Sorry, super flex. So I mean, I've got some guys in that league, so I'm doing okay right now. I'm hanging in there. I've put up some points. I'm sitting at 4-2 at this point in time, so I'll take it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I mean, I don't have a league where I'm doing that well yet. So my 2 leagues, we'll start out with another bad call league. Well, let's just put it this way. In both of my leagues, I hinged my season upon Dak Prescott, and we see how that's fared out for me thus far. The so CD's nuts in the another bad call league. Come on. Is
He's 43, gentlemen. He's 43.
43 going on 12. We're struggling. I finally got another win this past week. Not out of the playoff contention altogether, but just faced a lot of bad luck. I actually think I think I'm in 8th place. There's only 3 teams that have scored more points than I have. So my team is competitive. If I could string together a few wins, I could get back into playoff hunt, or at least be nice to string a couple of high score weeks together. But then in my other league that is a little juicier as far as buy-in is concerned, I am 3-3. That's my team name. I renamed my team name 99 Problems because my QB's done. But I don't know who to go with this week. I had spent a decent amount of fab and picked up Andy Dalton, and that experiment looks to be not so good. I also picked up Jared Goff that had been last week, and then this week with the announcement of the Tua project about to start in Miami, I went ahead and picked him up, but they're on bye, so I'm not going to get to play him. I'm going to have to. I think I need to. I don't want to play Goff against the Bears defense. Dalton, that team is just. They don't have an offensive line. They've got 2 more offensive linemen out from last week to this week. So I'm gonna have to make a move somewhere. I think Teddy Bridgewater might be my option for this week.
I think Bridgewater's the best play there. One little thing, a note on Dalton, and I think people need to keep in mind. It wasn't pretty against the Cardinals, but the Cardinals quietly have like the number 2 ranked defense in the league, I think. So it was a tough matchup. I'm not excusing it in any way, shape, or form, but it's going to get better before it goes the other way. So
I don't think they were ranked number 2 before the Dallas game. They certainly are now, but it's all right. We'll
now you're gonna make me go look.
We'll see what we can. We'll see what we can make of it. But getting into last week's DFS action, I had a little bit of a rebound from a standpoint of my cash game, where the previous couple of weeks I'd taken a bath. I won both of the double ups that I entered, and I think I won 17 out of my 18 head-to-heads.
Nice. Very good.
So wasn't a perfect lineup, but I had the 3 key plays that everybody needed last week. Trey Burton at the tight end, who put up 22 points.
Yep.
AJ Brown at his ridiculous price put up 22.6 points. But the big one was the big dog, the King Henry, with his massive 43 points. Cam Newton, he saved it in the end. I thought I was gonna bury him for life, but even though he could only muster 12 points against Denver, he saved it with a rushing touchdown and got to 20 points. Alexander Madison disappointed everyone last week. Adam Thielen, another guy that Minnesota just really let everybody down. So, but that lineup scored 161.18 points, and like I said, it was on the right side of variance for me. So
Very nice.
I didn't really have any tournament hits, but I was up on the day, and I was pretty good with the prop bets too. So I had a profitable weekend last weekend.
That's good. I did not. I felt I had one of those weeks where I felt pretty confident in my builds, so I played a little more than I normally would. And I really should learn my lesson that whenever I'm really confident in my builds, I play more than I should, and it turns around and bites me in the butt because my confidence was misplaced. The Alexander Madison one really hurt. I had shares of him just about everywhere because he was in the smash spot. You know, his value is there. He had a great matchup, and the Vikings got smacked in the mouth early, and it just did not pan out. I did the stack where I had Cousins, Madison, and Jefferson, and I brought it back with Ridley, and everybody hit except for Madison. And had Madison hit, I think I would have been a little bit better off there, obviously. The other big problem that I had there was the Packers defense. This is again where the defense was in a spot where they were valued, and they had a good matchup, and the Packers, I mean, Rodgers 2 interceptions, like it set everything off. And if you get -1 out of your defense, you're done. Like you can't be taking away points. That's a problem.
Yeah, so, that hurts.
I still managed to get second in our league, our DraftKings league. So I got a little bit there. Outside of that, I think that might have just been my highest lineup. I mean, I did okay in the showdowns that night too. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. Yeah, so that 149 was my highest score, but I'm ready to move past that. We've talked about this before. I've had a couple weeks now where the process has felt really good, and the thinking behind the picks are there, and just something happens that just derails it. But keep plugging away, and the process will hit eventually. So on that, I'm ready to build some lineups.
I think that I did end up with one tournament lineup that fared decently, and I'll see if I can grab it real quick. But I had a Julio Justin Jefferson stack. Where's that? There we go. Yeah, it was in a play action. Put up 177.82 points.
Nice.
And who did I have in that?
They had to come close to giving you 3x.
Yeah, it did. Here we go. Yeah, that was Kirk Cousins, Myles Gaskin, David Montgomery, Adam Thielen. That was a double stack I did. Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, and brought it back with Julio. And it had Claypool in the flex. But this lineup was really killed by Thielen and Jonnu Smith, who got hurt.
Yep.
Otherwise, it really could have done something good. So, but that it's getting close. One of these days, maybe it'll all fall together. But everything has to go right to win one of the big tournaments. So
that's right.
Anywho,
let's build some lineups.
Okay. We'll go ahead and do you want to do your tournament lineup? I've been talking quite a bit here, or do you want me to go ahead?
That's
my
pretty
cash.
normal. Let's go ahead and push your cash because I can
right.
speed through my GPP. So let's
All right.
let's go to your cash.
Well, looking at this slate, there's a few locks that I have that I started out with, and there's a pair of running backs that just are in perfect smash spots that I love. You got Alvin Kamara at 7,900 playing at home against Carolina. You got no Michael Thomas. You got no Emmanuel Sanders. Carolina is not good against running backs. They funnel most of the action against running backs. Kamara is a great play anyway, but he's got a great matchup. The other guy who I think is due for a big bounce back this week, he coming off one of the toughest matchups in the league against Tampa last week. This week he gets the team that cures all ailments in the Houston Texans, and that's Aaron Jones at 7,200. So that's who these two guys. They're locked in. Whatever I do elsewhere, where I'm gonna build around this. Now, there's one wide receiver as I was looking through this who has stood out to me that I absolutely feel like is a must play for me this week, and that's Terry McLaurin, 5,800, going up against that Dallas team that might as well be like a JV defense at this point. They haven't stopped anybody, and McLaurin, he's had a bunch of tough matchups so far, and he has still produced very consistently. So I really like the spot that McLaurin's in, and he's only 5,800, which coming from an alpha receiver on his team who gets all of those targets and who's got a great matchup this week, to me, it just seems like a no-brain play. So yeah. I don't know if you want to pop anything about those three guys before I move on, or.
No, I mean the news with Thomas and Sanders out just says Kamara all the way. It makes Carolina's job easier because they pretty much just can go, okay, now we have to stop Jared Cook and Alvin Kamara. Like, that's pretty much it. So it makes it defensively easier, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think his volume is just there, and his price. I mean, his price is 7,900. It's not cheap. I mean, you're playing for a big back, but the volume is above where the price is, so you have to play it. And your point on McLaurin. Your point on McLaurin is so valid. His matchups have been ridiculous to this point, and now he gets this softball. So hopefully you can see. I mean, for his volume at 5,800, it's ridiculous. You have to play it.
Sorry, I just with Kamara 7,900, he is the top running back. But the thing is, like in the past, running backs like this, with his involvement in the passing and running game, have been priced up over 9K. And so it's really not, his salary is not prohibitive of making a good lineup. So let's go ahead and move on. I've got another couple of want plays, I'll call them here. Keenan Allen, 6,200, Chargers. They've got the Chargers at home. They've got Jacksonville, another team who just has not been very good at stopping opposing offenses. Keenan Allen, now in his last game, he went out hurt, but he had 2 targets and 2 catches and a touchdown before he went out of the New Orleans game. But prior to that, he had 11, 19, and 10 targets from Justin Herbert, who is proving to be a pretty stout and reliable quarterback. And he played that game when Tyrod got injured, and he just took took the opportunity and ran with it to make it so they couldn't even think about going back. And Keenan Allen he's getting all these targets and he's got a great matchup. So it's a 6,200 and another, I think, really good value at his price and opportunities. The next guy that is a want for me is Kareem Hunt at 6,800. So when I build a cash lineup, I often want to base around volume eating running backs and give myself a good solid floor. And so I feel like with Kamara, Jones, I can and Hunt, I really, opportunity there for like 75 touches possibly, but probably minimum 60 touches between those three guys. And Hunt is playing, they're playing Cincinnati, that, just Ohio rivalry game, but, without the presence of Nick Chubb, Hunt gets, the bulk of that backfield. And I think that after the debacle of Baker last week, I think Cleveland's really gonna try to lean on Hunt a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean it's Kevin Stefanski. I mean this is what they did in Minnesota, and they tried to steer away from that a little bit. They got cute, and it hurt them. So I think you're right. I think they go back and he gets a heavy dose this week.
Okay,
dude,
so
you're going max headroom right now. There you go.
Sorry. So my other want play, and this is you're gonna think this is pretty ridiculous, and it's because I always slot my defense in last. But when I see Washington's defense with their pretty stout line and the awful offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys, and only being 2,500, I just feel like that pretty much is a no-brainer right there for me. Dak was running for his life before he got hurt. He was just good enough to still put up a bunch of points. I don't know if Dalton is quite mobile enough to not at least turn the ball over or take some sacks at this stage of what they've got, what they're running out there in front of him. So so then that leaves me with a couple of receiver spots, a tight end and quarterback. So just one wide receiver, tight end and quarterback.
Very good. I knew what you meant.
So to try to unlock some value, because I got some higher price guys there, and I want to play a higher decent quarterback. So I'm looking for some value at the tight end position, and I don't know how to say this guy's name, but I'm just gonna call him Alex O. Okwubagamana from Denver. Noah Fant is out for Denver, and this is the next guy up at tight end for Denver. He played with I believe this is what I heard. He played with Drew Lock in college or something.
Yeah, you're dropping the the shower the narrative.
Yeah.
Been
deemed.
Yeah.
Well, that's other podcasts and things. So I wasn't going to say that. I was trying not to say that, but he got 6 targets. He's at the minimum price of 2,500. If I could get 5 to 7 targets out of a 2,500 player, and hope for maybe 3 or 4 catches for 40 yards, I'll be happy with that, because it unlocks the opportunities for me to play a lot more solid plays. I mean, I suppose when we get down to it at the end, I do have $100 of remaining salary, and I could go James O'Shaughnessy, but I just don't want to. I think this other guy's got a little bit more upside. So,
real quick, just so you know, Noah Fant is, or Fant, however you want to say it, is deemed to return this week.
Oh, that's not what I read earlier. So, if I have to rethink that, I will. But
yeah,
like
he
I said, he
fully practiced today, and he's not on the injury report. So,
okay, well, I may have to put Doughboy O'Shaughnessy into that lineup since Tyler Eifert's out for Jacksonville. But like I said, it's pretty much a punt play. So we will.
I mean, for the extra extra 500, throwing. I mean, it is an extra 500, but throwing somebody like Ferguson.
I don't have it.
Gotcha.
I think that the matchup is a little bit tougher for him, and I don't think that. Obviously he had a big week last week, so I don't want to chase the points, and I don't think that the overall value is worth dropping down at another position that I'm putting when I put this lineup together, because I did go back and forth. Originally, I had somebody else in the flex, and paid up at tight end with Kelsey. But I things are evolving at this point.
As they should. We're still 2 days away. So you've got those 2 spots left.
So I got a little stack here, and we get to bring the Sunday Night Hammer this week because the NFL changed the schedule, and DraftKings has not decided to change what games are available in this main slate. So since Seattle and Arizona are playing a Sunday night game under the lights, a game that is touted to have over an over-under of 55. Kyler Murray at 7,100 has been an absolute beast as far as DraftKings points are concerned this year. I think his lowest game is 24 DraftKings points. He's averaging over 60 yards and a touchdown rushing every game. Seattle's not very good against the pass. In fact, I think they're last when it comes to giving up big plays in the passing game. And so I just expect a lot of points to be scored here. Even last year, Kyler, I think, had a couple of decent rushing days against Seattle. Let's see. Seattle ranks 31st in success rates allowed to wide receivers. So they've got Hopkins, obviously, and Christian Kirk. But we saw this past Sunday against Dallas, they were not afraid to take some deep shots, and I had just enough money left in this lineup to jam in Andy Isabella. So that's a bit of a shaky play for a cash lineup. However, I feel like I was able to get so much goodness into the rest of the lineup. I've got a little bit of room to shoot for some upside there. So I'm not too nervous about that.
Yeah, build. having a dart throw, if you will, in a cash lineup isn't a terrible thing when the rest of your lineup is high floor. I mean, you've got 2 dart throws in there. If I'm looking at it, you have 2 dart throws. You've got Isabella, But his air yards I think are pretty good. I'd have to go check on it. They like to do him deep. So I mean your air yards there at a low cost are good. And then your tight end spot, obviously, but your tight end's kind of a punt unless you're playing Kelsey or Kittle anyway. So we're gonna have some overlap.
So, and so I mean, there's obviously some other news that broke today with Joe Mixon going to be out. So Gio Bernard is obviously a value.
Yep.
It's just as I was playing around with the lineups, this is the one that I felt the most comfortable with. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this right now. We'll see what other news we get out this week. But let's go ahead and hear what you've got from a tournament perspective.
All right. So real quick, just I too built my lineup before I had the news with Mixon and Sanders and Thomas and everything, and so there'll be some adjustments as expected, but we'll go through and go ahead and talk about the GPP that I threw out there this morning. So you mentioned Justin Herbert, and I was like, you ain't gonna play Justin Herbert, but I am. This guy in his matchups real quick. I had it pulled up. So he has gone for either 300 yards or 3 touchdowns in all 4 games that he's started. And one of those games he found out he was starting like 10 minutes before the game started. So the games where he didn't go for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 4 touchdowns, and that was at Tampa Bay and then at the Saints. So the guy can get it done. And he's not afraid to toss it. So at 6,400, I've got him in that spot. To stack him up, actually, I went full double stack on one of these. Let me get to that one. So I had Justin Jackson in there. Much to my chagrin, it looks like he's going to be the guy. I had a lot of shares of Josh Kelly. As I'm, and that's hurting a little bit in my season long, but you do what you do. So I like Justin Jackson at 4,900. The volume in the matchup is kind of ridiculous. So we're gonna go that now. I had Elliott.
I like Jackson. I had him in one of my initial cash builds that I was looking at. So
I've got him in there. I had Elliott in. That's probably going to change just because with the issues with the line that some of that news broke after I built this lineup. So this is probably going to change. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and change it now. Let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go with the Kareem Hunt play as well. Again, it's an obvious play, and his ownership's going to be there, but his volume's just. I mean, you're dropping 1,000, and he's in a better situation.
Well, here's what I'll say. Why don't you go ahead and go through the lineup as you had built it, and then we could tweak it. But and then this is why I say because I think his ownership is going to dive and we know how good he is. He might actually be a good GPP play when you can get a really good player at a low ownership. It actually is, advantageous. So,
all right. Well,
and now just go ahead, build it this way, and then you could change it. I'm sure you will change it because your tolerance for risk is a lot lower than mine. So,
yeah, a lot lower. All right. So, let's go ahead and keep going. I told you I did a bit of a stack here. I'll tell you, this isn't the smartest play for like a huge GPP. This maybe a tourney, and I say tourney, I mean like our weekly tourney, to go QB, running back, receiver for all 3 of them to hit's kind of a push. I mean, we saw that with my cousins, Madison, Jefferson. Somebody has to give. And usually if it ends up to be a high scoring thing, then it's going to be your running back to an extent. But
I was going to say they don't, the three of them together don't correlate very well, but
again, this is all subject to change, and this is really easy. I can pull Justin Jackson out of this and put Gio Bernard in now that Mixon's out. Like it's a really easy fix. But we'll keep going here. So I've got that one in. This one I putting in because I think his ownership's going to be low. So this is I got Deebo Samuel in here. Now the matchup is not great. New England's defense, we know, like, they're pretty good. I mean, they're not great, but they're pretty good. And Belichick knows Garoppolo very well. He knows what he does well. But they also scheme to take away your number one thing. And what's San Francisco's number one option? Kittle. So chances are what that's going to leave is a lot of either behind the line or right past the line dump offs to guys like Samuel and Ayuk, and I think Samuel's going to get the bulk of it. So at 5,000, that's where I've got him at. In the end, as we talked about last week, when you're trying to do these stacks or you're doing these GPPs, the winning ones usually you do your one team stack with your quarterback and your receiver or two receivers, and then you bring it back on the other side. So I'm bringing back Keelan Cole on this side. For Jacksonville. I think for the volume that he's been seeing and the price, it was hard to pass up on. At tight end, I've got Hawkinson plugged in there right now. I think this is going to be a pretty high scoring affair, and I think Hawkinson will see a decent share of targets there.
Yeah, they're not good against the tight end. So
the next person I've got is I also have Aaron Jones in there. I mean, you just saw what Derrick Henry did. And I mean, they are two completely different types of players. But it's not a bad thing because Jones is a little bit, he gets a little bit more of the receptions. So it kind of balances itself out. I'm not saying expect Jones to go off for 40, but it is within the realm of possibilities. So, and then at defense, I had a little bit of money left, and I'm going with the Buccaneers. I feel like this is probably going to be everybody's going to do it, because who's playing offensive line for the Raiders on Sunday? Like, that's a nasty defense, and you don't know that they've got an offensive line. Yeah. My concern, and this is where the recency bias plays in, is the logic tells you play the Bucs because their offensive line, you don't know what's going to be happening, and regardless, that defense is good. And we've seen games where the Raiders just can't get anything done. I am, however, coming off of 2 weeks in a row where I've played a defense that is in a spot where they should have played lights out, and they haven't. So this is one of those things where you have to trust the process. Now, I've got money left over with this build, and again, it's going to change. Here's the thing with GPP lineups. You're taking some throws and you're trying to find those guys that have the massive upside. You're not just playing all the high price cash guys. So if you end up with a little bit of money left over, it's okay. If you end up with like 2,000 left over, maybe you need to rethink your approach. But I think having 500 left over at the end of, building a lineup like this is not the worst thing in the world. And real quick, before we say anything else, Dave Tolliver, I saw you. Thanks for liking the stream, buddy. Really appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. So, all right. So this is where that lineup sits. I did have another variation of this where I took out Justin Jackson and I put in DeAndre Swift. So another just kind of throw out there. So I'll show you what that looks like real quick with that in there. It changes it a little bit. Like I said, now I've only got 100 left to play with, so it's a little bit different. He's starting to see his usage ramp up, and we've seen up until last week Atlanta not be good against the running back. So, and I really think that last week was more a result of Atlanta jumping out to a huge lead and the Vikings just going away from Madison. So
sorry, the Illini just gave up a third touchdown to this freaking tight end.
Yeah, I'm not watching that game right now because my stress level's been high enough for the week. I don't need
I have
anymore.
Some blood pressure issues now. How do you
Oh.
let the freaking gun that wide open?
Wow, sorry for the audio clip, everybody. That was
Sorry.
So we did mention.
Can we go back to no Big Ten football this year, because this game just about ruined it for the rest of the year for me. So unfreaking real.
We did mention Mixon being out. That news broke today. Throwing Gio Bernard in this lineup really, in either the DeAndre Swift spot or even the Elliott spot, I think it's an okay option. I mean, if I do that, I can do some work. Like I can move my tight end situation and say, you know what? I said, give me the big boy. Give me Kelsey in this situation. That's pretty easy because so we talked about how good of a spot. Oh wow, my brain just completely broke. Kareem Hunt is in because of the usage and the matchup. So when you look at the drafting points given up to the running back position, the Browns and the Bengals are right next to each other at 24.2 and 24.5. So with no Mixon, Gio's going to get a ton of volume at 4,500. That's hard to pass on. So, but that's probably a play where the percentage is going to be there. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. So real quick, there is a guy. I got a couple other guys I want to mention here before we sign off. From a running back perspective, GPP play. I've been really digging on Zach Moss this week at 4,200. He's going to be super low owned, but the Bills have a great matchup against the Jets. The Jets they're not a real football team, and Adam Gase is just doing everything he do to completely tank that team. We haven't seen Zach Moss really get a huge opportunity this far, but he has been injured, and now he's back for the second week in a row. And they did say that they're going to try to work him in this year and use him more in games that fit more his skill set. And when the Bills are a big 11-point favorite against a Jets team who has yet to cover a spread this year, that means a lot of running game work. And I would not be surprised to see Zach Moss find the end zone twice this weekend. So that's one of my GPP plays that I really like. The other guy I'm gonna definitely have some shares in is Deontay Johnson. We saw at the beginning of the season how much of a rapport he has built with Ben Roethlisberger in the offseason. And now he's been banged up and not played last week. And Claypool, you got this new toy Claypool going off and drawing a lot of ownership towards him. And I think that really Johnson, I don't think they're going to stop using Claypool, but I think it even more tanks Juju Smith-Schuster's value in that offense. And we see the Titans are a good team. We see them play a lot of high-scoring games. So at 4,200 and the amount of targets that Johnson, I don't know that he'll go back to 10 targets, but if he gets 7 or 8, they could be real valuable targets there. So those are just a couple of guys that I'm really digging on so far that I haven't heard a whole lot of talk in other streams or podcasts so
So
far.
I will tell you, Johnson is a hot name on a couple of other stories just because it's target volume. So yeah, I totally agree with it. Real quick, we got two things. Dave's got some questions for us. We'll go with the start sit question first, and then I'll let Justin ramble on about his narrative on this next one. Start sit question. He wants to know: do you start Robert Tonyan or Darren Fells? Where are you at on that one?
Well, we've seen Fells has started to become a kind of a crutch for Watson. So maybe not crutch, but he's definitely become more involved in that offense. And I expect they're going to need to put up some points. Tanyan, I think his value has gone down with Adams back, and he's a little bit banged up. I think last I saw, he was still questionable. So I might be more apt to play Fells this week.
Yeah, I'd probably be in the same boat. The problem you're running into here is there's a 5-point difference in DraftKings points defensively between the two teams. The Packers are giving up an average of 10, and the Texans are giving up an average of 15. So you're there. I think if Tonyan didn't have an ankle injury, I'd probably say Tonyan anyway, because his last 4 games in targets are 3, 5, 6, and 4. So he's getting decent volume for a tight end. I don't know that I like that volume at 4,600, but it's still decent volume. But I think with the injury, you probably go with Fells, because I suspect the Texans are going to be playing from behind and they're going to have to do something. So I think Fells is the right play there. All right. So the social media circus sized elephant in the room, the news that dropped today as well: Antonio Brown to the Bucks.
Where get it? I do not get it.
Okay.
That doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't know why Tom Brady wants to deal with it, other than the fact that he did have a very short-lived relationship with him in New England. But how does this make sense for the Bucks? They've got 2 alpha receivers already in Godwin and Evans, and Evans is a bit of a hothead himself. Can he coexist with Brown? I don't know, but I just feel like the Bucks were starting to. Despite the Thursday night loss to the Bears, which the Bears have a really good defense, and I almost don't even know how much you can trust Thursday night game results anyway. But I feel like the Bucks are gelling, and they're getting better. Obviously, they've got a really good defense. I don't know why you want to take the chance to upset the apple cart and bring this guy in there. Obviously, Antonio Brown is a freaking awesome receiver, or was. Who knows what he is at this point? He's barely played in the last couple of years. I could think of a lot of other places that he made a lot more sense, including the Bears, even though I didn't want him on the Bears, but he would have made a lot more sense. That's a hole for them.
Well, you knew Pace wasn't doing anything that made sense, so you could have skipped that team right out of there.
No, yeah, for sure. I think that it's pretty crazy. I don't know that there were any teams that I heard his name associated with that I really liked all that much anyway. Like we're seeing, Seattle was one of the first names that popped up there as a top contender. That didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But
that's it. I'll argue with on that one real quick. Lindsay, thanks so much for the like and share. Really appreciate it. We're doing good. Are we doing some Warzone after this? do you think, buddy? You in Warzone?
Yeah, I'm probably down for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want to hop on and carry us, but so I actually can argue that the Seattle one makes more sense to me than the Bucks, just because he had been working out with Russ and DK in the offseason. So there's already sort of that mesh there. And I mean, from a team standpoint, if you're thinking, okay, I have to worry about DK, I have to worry about Tyler Lockett, I have to worry about Chris Carson, you've got Greg Olsen, who's not the same Greg Olsen, but he's still a serviceable tight end in this league. Now you add in Antonio Brown, and oh, by the way, and on top of that, you got Russ frickin' Wilson at QB. Like, good luck, NFC. Like,
I'm just saying, I'm not sure that the circus is always worth price of admission.
So before you went full west on me, that's what I was gonna say. Is that's the big hang up, is that you already have something working. Your team is rolling. Yeah, your defense needs some work, but your team is rolling right now. Your offense is playing. Everything's working really well. Why do you put a live grenade in that situation? Like, why would you do that? So
you know who needs him? Philadelphia needs an Antonio Brown, or
Cleveland.
I could
Can you imagine that room?
I could see Tennessee, good team, could really use another weapon in the receiving core, something like that. But I don't know. I think there probably is a number of teams out there that just were not willing to jump into that whole reality world tabloid type situation, especially with everything that's already going on with COVID and all the other things that teams are going to have to deal with this year. So
yeah, I'm real glad one team specifically didn't do it. I'm really glad one team specifically didn't do it, and that is that team that shares the division with us. Had he gone to the Packers, which I didn't really see them doing, because the circuit that goes with it, that's not the Packers' MO. That would have been just dangerous. With a healthy Devontae Adams, and Antonio Brown, Aaron Jones, and then Aaron Rodgers, who's having himself a good year. With the it was an off game, whatever. Yeah, that would have been scary. That's not something I wanted in the division. However, I would have rather have seen him go into the Packers than go to the Bears for that reason, because I don't trust that the guy's not just going to be a media circus and be a distraction. Personally, we'll see how it goes.
Maybe he could have played quarterback for the Bears.
Wow, maybe. I don't know. I'm not gonna say it, but I'm not sure he's got the mental capacity to be a quarterback.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
That bell has been rung a few too many times. But David did ask if he thought that Brady was bothered by the injury status of his receivers that he has there. I mean, sure, but that's not. I don't know. But I'd say that Brown's, with his lack of playing time in the last couple of seasons, he might very well be an injury risk as well.
I will float this out to you, just as a quick hitter. We don't need to go super deep into it. Do you think there's any way they pick up Antonio Brown and try to move like a Godwin?
No.
Or an Evans? No.
Well, I don't think Godwin. It's so hard to make trades in the NFL.
I don't know. The Texans had no problem.
Well, anybody wants to make a deal with the Texans. Maybe the Bears should see if they can trade for Deshaun Watson at this point. But they got rid of that guy that was making all
yeah.
those trades. So, yeah,
I don't know. Do the Bears? I'm not touting this by any means because I don't think this does us any good. I would not put it past Brian Pace in any way, shape, or form to give up Trubisky and like 2 other first rounds, because that's what he does, to grab like Mike Evans or Godwin or something. Like it would not surprise me in the slightest to see him do something stupid like that. But getting a receiver doesn't help us in any way, shape, or form.
Receiver, yeah, you got to have somebody to get it to him. So receivers are they don't garner the draft capital that a quarterback or a top tier defensive end would garner. But
also the QB we selected, we gave up a whole lot that we shouldn't have given up. So like I said, I wouldn't be super surprised.
No, absolutely. I never made that argument. I never said ever, never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever. My whole argument was that last year they needed to continue giving him the opportunity to see what they had. And then when he didn't, although he was 3-0 in games that he started this year, let's just not say that he was unsuccessful altogether. But I knew it at the start of the season. I didn't like the Foles move. I still don't like the Foles move. Neither of them are the future at quarterback. So I think that this horse has been beaten to death by you and I.
So real quick on that. Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. So I was curious. I was running the data the other day on efficiency as far as like a yards per play, the difference between Trubisky and Nick Foles, and they're pretty neck and neck. They split from quarter to quarter basically on who was more efficient. But it brings up the point of, this is the only reason why the Foles move makes any sort of sense to me whatsoever. Because we all know how I feel about Trubisky. Like, I don't need to go into that. I like Foles. I respect Foles, but I don't like Foles as the Bears quarterback either. But I like him better than Trubisky as the Bears quarterback. This team is not about the quarterback. This team is about the defense and what it can do. And so we need a quarterback that doesn't put us in bad situations. The defense is winning our games. When you look at the numbers, it's the defense. It's got nothing to do with it. It's very reminiscent to an extent, because we remember the year we went to the Super Bowl. That was all about the defense does its thing, and Kyle Orton makes sure that we stay out of the way.
Well, the thing is, the defense is not quite that good.
Correct, and that's what I'm saying. But that's where we're at. We need a QB that's not going to get in our way, and that's the difference between Foles and Trubisky. I think Foles is less of a risk to get in the way of the defense than Trubisky was.
They're not generating as big of plays. I think regardless who the quarterback is, and I know you're probably tired of hearing me say this too, but the play caller is not putting them in the best position to be successful, and that guy needs to get out of his own way, because we have a hard enough time with the talent that we have on that side of the ball, let alone putting them in bad situations and bad calls. So
speaking of bad calls, I have this rule, and you know this, where I'm trying to keep this as compressed as possible. We don't need a 2-hour thing, because nobody wants to listen to us for 20 minutes, let alone 2 hours. So we don't need to go in and have the argument about the Bears back and forth, just us basically complaining for 2 hours. Do you have anything else that you would like to add before we call it a day for this Week 7 DFS show?
No, I'm good. I think I got in the get in my cash plays there, and I got in a couple of the guys there I was looking at from a GPP standpoint. So there's still a lot more research to do over the next 36 hours. I don't have we don't have a Bears game at noon on Sunday to distract me from the task on Sunday morning. So I will get those lineups built and hopefully make some of that money. I need a power rack.
Yeah, so Kaffa was talking to me about that. We'll get into that in the next part of it. Which brings me to my next point. So, Justin, your social media is I don't have room on the page to list all your different your different acts. So, Justin M West Twitter. I am JD West 22 Twitter, Instagram. Obviously, you can find us at Another Bad Call across everything. That's Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. That's where our email's at too. So anotherbadcall@gmail.com. Stay tuned because I think we're going to try something just a little bit different next week. An extra bonus segment, if you will.
Good.
Yeah.
I can't wait to find out about this.
You'll like it. It fits on brand, I promise. But really appreciate you guys hanging out, stopping by. Reach out to us with any start-sit questions. Again, we may not have the right answer, but I guarantee you it's entertaining to listen to us argue about it. So send them our way, and we'll make sure that we give you the best or worst advice, or best and worst advice, depending on which side you want to pick. All right? So until next week, guys, try to avoid making those bad calls. Have a good one.
Peace.
Deciding who wins the game on this call.
Under review. The call on the field stands. Touchdown.
After review, it has been determined that the receiver did not maintain possession.
Quarterback's arm was going forward. It is the
Oh, man, on a call that is.
That's the worst call in the history of all sports.